This is a tutorial for Keyflower on Board Game Arena. This is a fairly complex game, so I won't be going over every tile and every rule, but I should get most of the basics in here for you, and to the point where you can at least play on BGA and know what you're doing. Keyflower is a game where you are building up your own village, accepting villagers and workers into your collection, bidding and upgrading and scoring points towards the end of the game as you build up that village. So as you can see here, there are a numerous amounts of tiles. This is a 4-player game, and on each tile you'll notice that there's a highlighted side. There are 4 highlighted sides, one for each player. Okay, in my case it's the purple side, and it's oriented so I can always see which one is mine on this purple. It's important to know whose side is what, because the meeples are not based on the color of the player. There are red, yellow, blue, and green workers, meeples, and we all share that pool and use that pool for different purposes. So at the beginning of the game, each player is given a set of meeples. I believe in a 4-player game it is 8. It could be more in lower player counts. And it'll be random between red, yellow, and blue. You will not get any green meeples. Those have to be created, basically. There's in the physical game there's a bag that you would pull red, yellow, or blue meeples out of, and green meeples are typically not in that bag. They can be in certain cases, but they wouldn't. They aren't usually, and they aren't in the beginning of the game. So there is each of these tiles you can do on your turn. You can do two things, one of two things with the tile. You can use the tile for what it says, or you can bid on the tile. When you can also use a tile that exists in your own village or in someone else's village, but currently everybody just has their home village tiles and they're not useful at this point. So it's really just about these tiles up here. So let's start with the tiles that start here. Not looking at these yet, because these have to do with order of selection of new workers and turn order in the next rounds. So the game is played through 4 different seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. After the winter season is over, you will count up all points, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Whenever you see this little snowflake on something, that usually means it's a scoring opportunity if this tile is won after the winter season. But we'll get to that later. So in spring there are, for this 4-player game, there are 8 tiles that are laid out, and on your turn you can again either use the tile or bid on the tile. A couple principles that you need to know about tiles is whenever a worker is placed on a tile, whatever color that worker is, any action or bidding on that tile has to be in that color. And so, for example, over here, this person bid 1 worker on this tile. The orange player bid 1 worker on this tile, 1 blue worker. That means if I want to bid on this tile, I have to use blue workers, and if I want to use this tile, I also have to use blue workers. So as soon as the first person puts a worker on that tile, that is the assigned color for the entire season for that tile. Anybody else who wants to activate or use that tile has to bid on it, or has to use that same color. When you bid or when you activate, you simply have to use more workers than what is currently shown on the tile. So in this case, they put 1 blue worker to bid on that tile. If I wanted to bid on this tile, I would need to put at least 2 blue workers to bid on it. I could put 3, or he could have started out with 2 or 3. If you wanted to try to lock that in, hoping that no one has more blue workers than they're willing to put on this tile. For example, this player put 2 red tiles on this tile, meaning 2 red workers on this tile, meaning that if I wanted to bid on it, I would have to place 3 workers on that tile. I may have missed recording that last section, so I'll repeat it. If you want to activate a tile, you don't have to beat the bid on the tile. So you can bid 1 red meeple here to use it, or you don't bid it, you activate the tile with 1 red meeple, even though the bid is currently at 2 red meeples. A couple other concepts around bidding. If you want, you can add to a current bid. So if I bid 1 here and then someone bid 2 blue, I could add 2 more to make that 3. The second is if you are being outbid and you just want to take your meeples and run, you don't want to try to win that tile anymore, you can take all of the meeples from that and place them somewhere else, either to activate or to bid on another tile. So if this person bid 3 and they did not want to try to get this tile anymore, they could take these 2 red workers and place them either to activate something else or to bid on something else. Can't split those 2 workers, they would have to go as a group, but you can reuse them and you can't bring them back into your inventory. So after everyone continues to either activate or bid on tiles until everyone passes in a row. Now, you can always pass if you want, and if it comes back to you and other people haven't taken turns, you can play again. So you're not out of the season the first time you pass. But as soon as everyone passes in a row, then the season ends. And you would pass because maybe you either don't have enough workers to use, or you would not like to use any of your workers currently. So at the end of the season, then a few things happen. First, there is these 3 tiles, or however many there are, depending on the number of players, will be the deciding factor in terms of who gets to pick the next set of workers or tools that they get in their inventory. So whoever wins the bid here gets to pick first out of these 4, second, and then third. Whoever wins this first bid, they don't get the tile unless it was the winter, unless it was the winter season, but they do get to pick first out of these 4. As you'll notice, different random meeples and tools, workers and tools, come through on these boats, and some of them are clearly better than others quantity-wise, such as this one has 7 workers and a tool, whereas this one only has 6 workers and a tool. But maybe you want specific colors as well, so you may pick something different. Whoever wins this bid also goes second, and then it goes clockwise. If nobody's bid on the second, it just goes clockwise from the first player, from whoever wins this, and then from second it goes clockwise, and whoever wins this one goes in the order. However, because they bid and won this one, there is this first player token that they get as being the first player for the next season. So maybe you don't really care about which boat you get, but you want to be first player in the next season, so you would bid to win this one. Then each of the bids are evaluated, and whoever wins a tile for the bid gets to add it to their village. If nobody bid on a tile, then nobody adds it to their village. It goes away. But also, if somebody used a tile out here in the middle, so let's say I put 1 red worker here so I could get the production out of that tile, then whoever wins this tile takes that worker with them. Also, if you were not successful in a bid, you do get the workers back as well. So if I bid 3 red workers to this one's 2, they would get those 2 red workers back that they can use in the next season. Note that you can only see your workers, you cannot see anyone else's workers. In the real game, there's a screen that hides the number of workers that you have from other people, so you can't play that out very easily. Alright, so after everyone has chosen the boats that they want to take for the next season, taken all of their tiles, then they will put those tiles in their village. Now if you look at these individual tiles, you'll see they have some sides with roads, some sides with water, and sometimes they have just grass on the side. You can see on some of these tiles that there's green areas, green sides and road sides, and then there's water sides. So when you place a tile, you can connect it to any tile that currently exists. You just have to match sides. So roads have to match with roads. Water, like if you were to get a tile like this, you wouldn't in this season, but eventually you could get water tiles. They would need to connect with water sides, and grass sides can connect with grass sides. So everybody places their tiles, and then we move to the next season. Let's see what that looks like. So this is later than in the season. You can see there are multiple bids on things, but they always match the colors. Nobody's actually activated any of these tiles, which is kind of a smart move, right? Because you can use them when they get into your village, and then you're for sure going to get those workers back. But if you use them here, while they're in here, then you may not get those workers back if somebody else bids and wins that bid. So typically, the ones out here will be just bid on, and then the ones when they are in your village will be the ones that are actually used and activated. But sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes it's worth getting something specific, and we'll see an example of that in the next season. So here is somebody who actually did bid on that, or who did use this one to get the production out of it, and we'll talk about how the production works in a bit. And so you can see they put 1 red worker here to get that, and so whoever wins this one will get that worker. I think they're counting on winning that one, and so they were okay using it to get the production off of it. Alright, so it looks like everybody is now passing, so everybody gets back their unsuccessful bids. There are bids here, and then you can see the tiles and who they've been won by. So first we look here, green player bid 2 here, so that someone would have to bid 3 yellow to win this, so they're going to go first. They're going to pick those. That includes the tool. Then the red player goes second. Then purple goes third, and they get the first player token. And they get the last one goes to yellow. So everybody has new workers. You can see from this purple perspective, they got 1 tool and they got some more workers here for the next season. And then these are highlighted to say who gets which ones. And you can start to see how people can start placing these workers. And you can rotate them, just making sure you're connecting roads or grass, or just the plain areas, or in some cases water. Alright, now we are on to the summer. So now that we have a village here, let's talk a little bit about what you can do with the village. Because now, when you activate a tile, you can activate tiles that are in villages instead of activating tiles up here. So you can't bid on anything down in the village. You still just bid or activate the stuff that's up here, but you can activate the ones that are up here. So if any of these that you look at, you will see at the top, it will show you what it produces. And the nice thing on here on BGA is that it will actually explain it to you as well. So this one produces 1 wood. There are 3 types of resources: wood, iron, and coal, I believe. Stone. wood, stone, and iron. The iron is black. There's also gold. Let's see, you can see some gold there. Gold is a wild resource, and it's a way to get points. Here, this one produces a gold. So you can see that top box, there'll be, it shows you what it produces, in this case just one wood, and then there's the arrow that points to it, and in the real game this is just a preview of what's on the other side if you upgrade that tile. So in this case it gives you the cost that's within that, and then what you would get from producing out of this tile when you upgrade it. So if you upgrade this tile for 1 saw, which is one of the tools, then instead of 1 wood when you activate it, you get 3 wood. And then there's that little, you can't really see it here, the little green, the little gray 3 next to it. Those are points at the end of the game that you get. Sometimes the tiles will just have those points in the standard version, but a lot of times you have to upgrade to get those points. See this one, if you upgrade it, you get 5 points. So you can see different requirements that give you ways to upgrade and get more out of it. For instance, this one lets you have one of any of the 3 types of resource, and if you upgrade for 2 when it's white, it's just any resource, then when you activate it you get all 3, and you get 3 victory points. How do you upgrade a tile? Well, that's what this with the horse is, and basically what this means is the number on the horse and buggy tells you how many transport points you get. So basically if it's 1, you can move 1 resource 1 space. If it's 2, you could move 1 resource 2 spaces, or 2 resources 1 space. And then the little, what looks like a house but it's actually an arrow, means that you can upgrade any tile. It doesn't have to be one that you move to, it just means if you have the resources on that space you can upgrade it. So for instance, this one I can upgrade if I just have the saw. I don't have to have any resources on it. But this one I have to have a stone and a wood on the tile in order to upgrade it. Now there are some, like this one here, where when you upgrade it you get 4 movement points. Again, that can be split up however for the resources, but you also get to upgrade 2 tiles if you'd like. This is all optional, but you can upgrade up to 2 tiles and you get 5 victory points. So again, we're going to be bidding, activating, and you can activate on yours or on others. Now why would you activate on others, or what's the downside of activating on others? Well, it's the same rules that apply whenever you put a meeple on something, a worker on something. That color is the color that's used, and if you want, for instance, if I were to activate this with 1 red, the next person to activate it would have to use 2 red workers to activate it. Now if I decided, ooh, I really want this gold resource, I could put my 1 worker on here, and then at the end of the season any workers that are on your village tiles get pulled back into yours. So you do get the gold from it. It goes to your village tile instead of producing wherever it exists, but the other player would get that worker for the next season. So it's a bit give and take. Sometimes it's worth it. You know, if I really need that 2 iron here and I do it quickly, I'll just put it on, get that 2 iron, and they'll get my worker for it, but it was worth it. So there's a few, you know, you kind of have to balance what might be useful there. Alright, there are a few other types of tiles that start coming in the summer. These ones are basically extra powers, these ones that are boats, right? So typically, so this one for example, when you transport, that's another rule of when you're moving resources around, you have to move along the roads. This one lets you move along fields as well. So if you don't have roads connected, you can take a shortcut, right? So I can move something from here to here with this power instead of going up to here and save movement points. So that's just a power that you can use. This one, you can take, this gives you 2 additional workers after you take your new boat. So these ones that you'll see here, they're just different powers that they give you that you don't produce with them, but they are helpful. This one's interesting because this one actually shows you how you can get green workers. So in this case, if I activate this with any color that I have, I could activate it with a red or yellow or whatever, I can trade then a blue worker for a green worker. Now, why would you want a green worker? Well, green workers are hard to get. And so if you put a green worker on a tile, chances are you're getting that tile. Someone would have to put 2 green workers on to outbid you because now that color is green. So you kind of lock the tile with that green one. Green ones are very valuable for just locking out other people from either activating or bidding on tiles. So then things are going to go as normal. So the red player here, they decided they wanted that wood. They put their 1 red on it, and they got their wood back to their home tile. But now, when the purple player ends the season, they will get that red worker back into their inventory. So you can just see some bids continuing to go. Now this person put a red worker on their own tile, and so then the resource exists on that tile as well. So they can use that to, so they won't have to move things around. So again, there's a lot of bidding, but now this person decides they want to do an upgrade. So they got that wood, they got that stone. This just needs 2 of anything, and it'll flip over. And so they're going to use this to move 1 and then upgrade 1. So they're going to move this wood over here through the road, and now they have 2, and they can upgrade that. Turns it over, and now you can see it gives them 3 points, but now when they use it, they get 1 of each resource. It's a nice early tile to have upgraded. Upgrading is a big deal. If you can do it, it gets you some great bonuses, and it's really one of the main ways to get points at the end of the game. All right, I'm going to skip ahead, and we're going to go all the way to the winter season because that one's a little bit different. All right, we are now at the start of the winter season. This is the last season, and this is where a lot of the scoring stuff comes into play. There's one tile I did want to point out. Again, I'm not going through every tile. A lot of them have a lot of different functionality, but BGA is really good about telling you what it can be done. This is the one, though, that I wanted to look at. So this one, you put it, when you activate it, meaning you put either 1 or 2 or however many workers on it, all you do is get 1 worker. If it's upgraded, you get 2 workers. Well, why would you put, like, let's say there was 1 red on there. Why would you put 2 red on there just to get 1 worker back? That's an investment, right? So if I am the yellow player and I put 2 workers on here and get a random worker, then I have that worker, and I have the 2 workers that I put on this village or on this alehouse, because at the end of the game I will get all of those workers back. So sometimes if you don't have a good place for the workers, it's good to just stick them here and you get more for the next round. And so yeah, there are lots of different reasons that you might do that. In fact, this user or this player did that 3 times in the last round. That might be a little inefficient, but they wanted to get some extra workers in. All right, so before winter starts, everybody will actually have 3 tiles in their hand. Now notice they all have that snowflake on them. And these are most of the winter tiles are tiles that score points at the end of the game. So you will look at the 3 tiles that you have, and everybody else has 3 tiles, and you will choose at least 1 to include in the market. And then everybody else will, and however many tiles go out, that's the tiles that are available to bid. And so you can see these are different ways to score, right? And this one, you get 3 points for every red, yellow, and blue worker that you stick on that tile, which you'll be able to do. You'll be able to stick workers on tiles at the end of the game. Same with most resources, you can stick right just wherever they need to be to get points. There's a few exceptions to that. This one, you can put 5 tools on there if you've collected a lot of tools and get 10 points at the end of the game. This person has 6 tools, so that might be worth it. And then this one, you can just put as many of the same type of worker, so all blues or all yellows or all greens, however many you put, that's how many points you get. So there's just a few different types of tiles like there. Also, these now, when you bid, you don't get more workers, but you do get to pick a tile. And these tiles now all have ways to score points. Some of them, they're easy to tell, like this one. It tells you get 1 victory point for each transport capacity. So this person has 2, 4, so they would get 6 points if they took that one. Some of them you kind of have to read the description. I'm not sure why. Like this one, it doesn't really say what it does. It might just not have had room for it. But for this one, you get points for loops of roads that you make, like this one here, right? If you make complete loops of roads, you get a victory point for each tile that is included in that route. And so there are different other ways to score. And so depending on your order here, you get to pick which one you want first. You also get this tile, which lets you place it, and any tiles it's touching is a point as well. So everybody selects their winter tiles, and now these are all the ones that are available for bidding, and they're all point tiles. And then we'll go through and we start upgrading our own. There's going to be a lot of upgrading of your own tiles and a lot of bidding on these to get points and putting things on them. This is kind of a mad dash to just try to get as many points as possible. This is probably the most complicated season because of that. And we will skip ahead towards the end. And we'll go ahead and watch some of this go through. You can see people moving stuff around in order to upgrade them. There's some bidding that's going on up here, but a lot more of the upgrading because you can get good points from flipping over those tiles. Like this one doesn't provide any points, but if you flip it over, or provide any production, but if you flip it over, it's 10 points. So that's a big one there. So purple, we're bidding on this one. We like this one, right? Because we have 5 tools that we can stick on it. This one is trying to get a bunch of iron up to this point, right? So they're just sticking iron up here because they get 3 points for every iron that's put there. Remember that gold, these yellow ones, can be used for any resource, or sometimes they're just worth points on their own. So like if I put a gold here, I would get 3 points for it as well. There we go. Now you can actually, I think it was just hidden. You can see that scoring opportunity with the symbol around that. All right, so we are about to the end here. I think everybody has passed, or at least the player here is just about to pass the end of the round. Oh, they're going to bid one more time to try to get some points there. So everybody else gets to pass. These are the ones that are won. So green gets to go first. They're choosing this one. And they have 7 points out of that, so that's a good one for them to get. And we go through. Everybody puts on their final tiles, including those boat tiles. Remember, if you want to connect them to water, you don't have to connect them to the water, but that's how you would do it. And then all the points are totaled up based on the points that are on the tiles, and then whenever there's that snowflake to show points at the end of the game, those tiles as well. I think any unused gold is also a point at the end of the game. But then after all the tiles have been placed, you can move resources and to the skill tile so that you can score them. Now, there's a certain order to it. I won't go into it too much, but there are certain tiles where you can't move things to them, and then some that you can just move stuff anywhere. And then you can always just place any workers that you have. So this person is putting tiles on theirs. They were able to move any tiles over to this one. However, I believe, yes, the resource has to be like the blacksmith and a few others has to be there already. You can't move them at the end of the game, whereas this one you can push them over there whenever you want after everybody is done. See, this one says the resource can be found anywhere in this player's village, whereas this one is the resource must be found on this tile at the end of the game. So you can move those to this one, but you couldn't move them on here or the timber yard. There are a few others like that. So yeah, we'll continue now to place their tiles. Well, this person was able to get 13 points because they had 13 reds they were able to put on that. That's pretty good. They were really counting on that one. So you know, by the way, you know what these tiles are at the beginning of the game, so you can count on and start building up to those towards the beginning of the game. I imagine this person did know that and were able to start planning for that. Oh, one more thing. If a tile is used to score, or if a resource is used to score on one tile, it can't be used to score on any other tile. Everybody's placing workers and tiles, and then final scoring. This person, green here, won, probably because they really planned on these. They got some major points from that. They got some other points from their flipped over tiles. This one they got a lot of gold on, so, but it was a fairly close game. Alright, there's a lot to it, and again, I didn't go over a lot of these tiles, but again, the important thing to remember is you're trying to win tiles, you're trying to go for those end of the game goals. When you bid or activate something, that locks in the color, and typically you're going to want to bid on the ones out in the market and then activate the ones in your village or in someone else's village if needed, and upgrade those tiles as quickly as possible. But you can't upgrade everything, so choose the ones you want to get good points out of and good use out of. Hope this is helpful.